So, within the recent collection of audio, um, it was about an estimated time of, around 40 minutes or whatever. And within that, in two different pieces, and within those videos that I recorded this morning that I did not post, and I did not post them because the visuals were kind of somewhere else. I was just kind of like it was kind of like quote unquote explicit end quote, like the visual content. So that's why, like, it was a good message. It was like the audio was there, the verbal message was there for the post, but that one I had to just refrain, one time, but eventually within this strange weird path of, how the astronomy does have an effect on us, and we're understanding the astronomy and how we're using that as something of an instrument so we could actually relate to how the astronomy is connected somehow with the society as it's been, and 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 pretty much seeing like eventually the astrology could be transformed in however way it could be transformed, right? Because it's like, all of these, like, some people, like, we don't have to lean on the baggage and the false perceptions that people project onto astrology, like our rising sign, it kind of means something to like our physical body, but eventually that could be transformed. So this is exceptional balance. It's like seeing like, oh shit, like me being a Leo rising, I feel like a cat, like I'm just, and like, obviously people don't necessarily understand everybody else, nor do they necessarily care, not good, not bad. It's just that if you don't take other people's, like, how they work into consideration, then you won't get to know them and you won't get to really, really relate to them. So I'm just seeing, like, quote unquote, like, and like Libra could, like, that, like, sign, that could be like the most like switchy sign, like that sign is probably like it's most differentiated and it's most diverse within the decans that separate the three decans that separate the spaces within that constellation, because it's bringing change in air. It's bringing like something of an elemental air, and as it brings great change within the air, that means the three decans of Libra are like totally different. So it's like Libra is like, they're like they're like there's definitely different Libras for sure. The first decan ones are like way different from the third decan ones, obviously, because the third decan is pretty much like, we're kind of like at the tip of the ride, right? We're at some type of height of the ride of like what that energy did for us in that space time constellations program code, what it did for us collectively to individually, right? Because it's a space that we're moving through, and that space is moving through a different space, and that space is moving through a different space, and all of those in between spaces make subtle metaphysics and then physics, right? And shout out to the predecessors. Blair's coming to mind, but let's keep it moving. And after the space within this, after just like it having our us relating to the most surface level nearby space, that's our nearby physicality, like locality of what we're making with, its substrata of like original matter, and then from that original matter, from different spaces and different consciousnesses, we're all ultimately crafting, like, the higher like something of a higher octave, like Taurus realm, right? It's where, like, the creations, the objects, the creativity is getting kind of like something of a programming, something of like a unique micro solidification, Taurus type of shit. So I just feel like just a little bit about the, like, every sign is like different within their decans, because but their energy temperament, it kind of explains the temperament within the change within the decans of one sign, and within the change of the decans of one sign, it makes itself to be one sign, right? And as it's one sign, when we're moving through that space, as we're moving through that space, it's like that space is in a different space, right? But after the space of the space, which is the nearby space, after that, it's like it's a post creation of like somehow a physical place is being created from like a metaphysical place, right? So when we're going through the Decans within like of from a in a particular space, that particular space underneath the particular space is the casual surface level collective physical firmware of there's layers to astronomy and astrology, and on a and as we're and we're on some type of like, you know, organized surface level, and that surface level has this real deep metaphysical threshold where 3D somehow intricately divides different dimensions and realms and like stages of different types of heaven and hell. Literally, that's what 3D is. So it's like we're like underplaying like the 3D realm. Like we think like, you know, like I get the whole like fucking shadow work shit, and like I get all that shit. It's like there's like other things that like, you know, shadow work isn't necessarily indicative upon. Like shadow work could be like something of its own variable, as you know, nature is still going to do its own fucking shit as it does. It's kind of like balancing the shadow work and just realizing nature and how it's moving, and how it like everything gets recycled regardless of its if it's evil or good. There's a transformation element regardless if it's evil or good, because there's things that are like there's change upon change upon change, and we're just kind of going along for the ride, you know. A different type of like, you know, quote unquote, you could even say it's a universal no choice, end quote. And for you to say that's advanced human design, you know, maybe we all reach that, you know, because obviously anybody could approach studying in a unique way, you know. So, and I say that because like ironically, human design is trying to teach us that we all learn differently. So if we all learn differently in quote unquote HD, end quote, why are we going to knock other people, condescend other people, and kind of like, you know, detrimentally compare other people, and how, you know, there's like, what are we really doing with the knowing? There's just so much irony in the HD community, because all the keynotes and the memos and the messages, it's saying to contribute for collective good, and when you're trying to put someone down, how is that contributing for the collective good? But I know, like, you know how like other things could be just kind of like a certain rawness could be embodied, you know. And that's like one thing that, you know, many different traditions and systems other than HD, but also as HD, we could celebrate, you know, just this transformation of this, like, there's this raw self that's transforming and mutating, obviously. And as it's doing that, it could either peep game on the balance system of the keynotes of what the system's intended for, while recognizing there's like differentiated variables as far as mutation. And like when I say differentiated variables, that could be different contexts, right? It's just like differentiated variables of like there's a mutation thing going on, then there's this like mental like, you know, keynote kind of like thing highlighting how like the some different types of mind are relating towards an entirely different system. And then there's like, you know, just the and then the quote unquote one type of shadow work could be the deconditioning process in itself, because the shadow work is seeing like how we all kind of got quote unquote duped, end quote, because the deconditioning process is we don't know what's really happening. There's a deconditioning process, not just HD too, respectively. And I've said this in the past, and I've said like so much like underground shit in the past, and I'm just kind of like you know, kind of coasting it out now pretty much. And as I'm doing that shit, it's like I'm just kind of like realizing like how the astrology is quote unquote HD as well, end quote, and how we're using these things and these quote unquote languages, if we interpret it properly, how we could actually transform and get with all of the hype to begin with. So it would feel that, like, Libra could be like it relating to change and wind and just like bringing some type of like spiritual information or whatever. If it were to be a bringer of that, then that whole like program of energy, it would have casual differentiated coordinates, right? And the casual differentiated coordinates is the start, the middle, and the end. First, second, third decan, no shit. And as it's the first, second, and third decan, no shit type of shit, the first decan particularly spotlighting like just the energy constellation of quote unquote Libra end quote, without getting lost in like the biases or the false etymology program shit behind it, is the first decan of Libra is the 6 month first moon cycle has ended, Aries to Virgo. It's concluding. All of it's being wrapped up. It's the fall of the sun. And in the spiritual world, it's the rise of the sun. So in the spiritual world, there's this rising of the sun because everything's backwards in the spiritual realm. So there's this rising of the sun in the spiritual realm. And within that rising of the sun in the third dimension, in the 50-50 realm, within the third dimension, there's a fall of the sun. And the rising of the sun in the spiritual world is watching that fall in the sun, because that's how they counterbalance themselves. The higher selves are counterbalancing themselves through us, most respectively. Because if it's heaven when it's hell, and the so below as above type of shit, when it's heaven, or when it's like, like like when it's fall, in the earth plane, it's spring in the spiritual plane. And when it's winter in the earth plane, it's summer in the spiritual plane, right? So within that kind of teeter-totter dynamic, there's there's a special significance that the spiritual world is reflecting on the earth plane, because when Virgo transitions to Libra, that's the fall of the sun. That's wrapping up a first, like, somehow they're encoding it as 6-6. The first 6 months is one moon cycle, respectively. And within that has been like kind of concluded and capped up third decan Virgo. So Virgo is like the height of all of this like moon energy from the 6 months, and they got the plug to that. So that's why the anxiety could be a cause to begin with, because all of this like moon energy for this first half of like, just how the spiritual world and the physical world, they have like a unique like container spaceship, and within that spaceship they kind of go in and out of each other. So as it's going in and out of each other in some type of like, threshold spaceship crux, the season of Virgo is like, it's kind of like capping it. Virgo is kind of like Taurus, like in just like in respects in regards to the earth element. But like the constellation of Virgo, it's concluding the first moon cycle. It's like a different type of harvest. It's like a conclusive harvest. If Taurus is like, some type of like external forefront harvest, like, we're actually putting in like masculine work, we're putting in work, we're putting in the work, like putting in seeds so the crops could actually grow, like actually making that initiation and just being like nighttime Venus creative doing that, reaping all of that stuff, however it is. Then Virgo would be kind of something of like somehow within like however the gods made the whole as above so below dynamic and how they originated it. They made it, and astrology was something of a quote unquote post effect of that end quote. And they coded the spaces within certain programmings of like how things are just reflecting a different cosmos. So like, because like everything, there is order in everything. We just can't see it because we're like, somehow we're just fragmented in unique ways, and that's just what it is. But like just looking at it non-biasedly, like the Virgo constellation, it could be looked at as like third decan Virgo to first decan Libra. That's that's so pivotal. There's like it's just like so pivotal, you know. There's like some type of epicenter, there's some type of portal in between there. So like first deacon Libra, they're like literally like they're literally the ones kind of like before the roller coaster, right? It's like it's before the roller, like first deacon Libras, you guys are like before the roller coaster of going into the whole next 6 months of the season of darkness on the earth plane. And within the season of the darkness for the next 6 months on the earth plane, it starts with first deacon Libra, and as it's going towards the season of the darkness, it's only beginning, you know. It's only having like a beginning of it, and and particularly it's starting a whole new 6 month cycle. So it's like the start of the dark moon cycle, first deacon Libras. So the first deacon Libras, they could be fucking like, they could be like, you know, they could be like hella fucking, they're probably like the low key evil psychopaths, perhaps, maybe not all of them, but I'm just saying it's a possibility. And I'm not ratting on the Libras. I'm just like the third deacon Libras are the best type of Libras. I'm gonna say that right now, because we're the height of where we see the counterbalances within the balances, and we see the balances within the counterbalances, because the first and the second deacon, for something to be balanced, something has to be non-balanced, and for something to be non-balanced, then once we recognize the non-balance, only a certain type of balance can be achieved. So the first and second deacons are the experiment thereof, and as they crisscross into a different threshold, the third deacon perfects the real balance of it all, and it's the height of the balance, and the height of the balance is like thresholding the next moon, like a different type of like in and out, like because if you pair it together, like eventually like you could pair like Libra and Scorpio together just on a bigger plane, right? So within that, it's a whole intermixing of how like the first projection is then kind of like it has its first height, and then it goes to its first receding different type of womb within the space. So the Scorpio is like pointing towards a feminine type of esoteric space of the different types of admin cadmin bodies that are the solar system to the earth, and however you want to look at that, and however you could explain that, and however you could share that, and however you could actually constructively build with that. And within all of that, it's like so Libra season, it's the start of a new 6 month moon cycle. It's the second of 6 month moon cycle. So it's the start of generating moon energy in the darkness of Earth, and in the spring and summer times of the heavens, right? So the spring of the summertime of the heavens, they're kind of like somehow like containing that shit, because we're within a bigger field. We just don't necessarily see it like that. And since Libra is kind of the start of that shit, the first deacon Libra, they could be kind of like, they could have some type of insanity, maybe perhaps, you know, not all of them. They could be more like, you know, just kind of airy than usual, right? And then the second deacon, that's just kind of going, that's like realizing that we're on the circuit of it, we're on the trip of it. Second deacons is just kind of, the second deacons is like, we're on the ride, you know, we're going on the journey, you know. And this could go, and I could do this for all the signs right now, you know. The third deacons, it's the height of it, getting ready for like the next circuit of, you know, however the 6-6 got crisscrossed for the astronomy to actually have some type of order within the zodiac wheel within itself, you know, some type of crisscross 6-6 type of shit, you know. And within that 6-6 type of shit, it's like within that 6-6, there's 3 deacons per 1 out of 12, right? So there's 3 deacons. So there's something of like a 36 deacon within the year. So there's 36 different types of standard flavors, respectively. And there's 36 different types of flavors. The first, second, and third deacon, they acclimate to the energy of the constellation. And as they're acclimating to the energy of the constellation, the energy of the constellation will dictate how closely related the first, second, third deacon are, or how externally masculine, like energetically wise, they're spread apart, and how they're spread apart. What temperament are they ultimately making in the esoteric sky, and whatever it's doing in the esoteric sky as an element, quote unquote configuration, end quote, we're just receiving the reflection of that on the 3D earth plane, and we're on the earth itself, and the earth as has its own calibration to the sun and the moon, as it already does to Saturn, and that being something of a surface level physical matrix front, as those are having like something of a quote unquote fixed, configuration, end quote. They're the Saturn and the Earth and the Moon, they're kind of like that's what we're on, those are the energies we're working with, and within like that, combination, that's moving through a different like quote unquote dragon mother body within her as above self, and that body, different constellations are within that body, and it's been program coded within that as the earth daughter is going through that body. The earth is receiving the energies of the dragon mother, and how her temperaments have somehow been organized by a higher creator, right? Because for the dragon mother to be like kind of like for there to be order within that shit and chaos within that shit, because the chaos is her reacting to, she's kind of just realizing what she is, right? Which is kind of like, the feminine of everything, as God is like the masculine to everything, right? So I would say like the first Decan Libras, they're kind of like they're kind of like we're just barely getting started type of energy. And within the barely getting started type of energy, that's where they're like, that's where their quote unquote like perky energy, end quote, could come from, but obviously like it doesn't have to be like that, but it could be, like that's where like that's where their like enthusiasm could come in, because there's like this whole new particular start, right? There's this whole particular start when while the sun is guiding, the sun is being an epicenter respectively to Saturn, Earth, and the moon, and within the sun being some type of epicenter, that sun is leading us to like see how we're going towards some type of different reflective wholeness. It's like the sun within what is the sun in the solar system, right? Like it's some type of like mirror reflection, inner reflection of a divine mother, right? Because the sun is like it's like it's pointing towards like some type of masculine creation at work, and it's absorbing like it's like kind of like digesting everything else, right? And as it's digesting everything else, that sun, that digestion kind of aspect, it's in a certain place within the solar system, right? And as it's in a certain place within the solar system, that's conjuncting or that's aspecting, because the sun is aspecting Saturn, Earth, and Moon most like in a particular way, because we're nearby Saturn, Moon, and Earth, because we're on the Earth, we're on like Saturn in a different type of, quote unquote, I guess like diffusing of a matrix kind of way, end quote, respect to the dreams, obviously. And with respect to all the like, all the dreams of like possibility, respectively. And within that particular configuration of sun, moon, earth, and Saturn, it's in like the solar system in a certain way, and as that configuration is in the solar system a certain way, and there's different types of admin cadmin bodies, and I do like a respective perfect underground podcast describing all the different admin cadmin bodies in a different whole detail, so that like if there is confusion, then you would have to pay like real shit for the real underground shit, like if you really want to complete the shit, then you're gonna have to either like really go all in, or just actually like accept your fucking your like what do you call that shit, you just like you would just have to accept all of that fucking like just like that not real shit, just that you would have to accept all that like just media. Oh yeah, there's the word. You would have to just accept all that mediocrity shit, you know? Then like with respects to like, you know, neutralizing the etymology baggage within words too. Shout out to the predecessors, advanced intelligence. So there's a and I'm saying this because like, you know, different insights have been given. We're obviously on the earth. The earth, we don't necessarily know the difference within the sizes between earth and the solar system, but we actually do. It's just not common knowledge respectively. And within that, that's important to know because then we could see a particular as above so below. We're on some type of earth. The earth is inside type of some type of system that has nearby conjunction station adjunctions, neighboring vicinities of different stationing adjunctions of how planets are next to other planets in certain alignments within the different types of solar systems. So it's like you could either go all in or you could be on some like mediocre shit. I don't really care, you know. I'm just like I did a different underground video today about like no choice. So it's like it what causes bitterness maybe is our willingness not to accept, you know. But if you the more you practice a particular type of like I guess esoteric acceptance with respects to like, you know, the real meaning of it, then you could actually overcome if any bitterness would come to you, because like the bitterness is just caused from a lack of acceptance or lack of understanding, because it could be easy to accept like it just could be easy to accept no choice, you know. But people don't know what that means because they're not going within their society shadow work of deconditioning. They're not doing the shadow work. They're indulging in not deconditioning, you know. They're indulging in conditioning, you know. And it's not about that, you know. This new shift is not about any of that shit. So I don't know why the ignorance has continued in just different, you know, realms of, you know, places, but it just has, because we're just reflecting what we understand, you know. And if we don't understand, then that's why we're in the situation that we're in, you know. And I'm just saying that respectively. But within like the sun, the moon, the earth, and the Saturn alignment, you know, the sun and the Saturn, they counterbalance each other, you know. Because the sun is going towards some type of like surface level energy I am. Sun exalted in Aries, some type of energy I am. And from that I am, the divine child is made. First, fifth house, sun shit. And within the first and the fifth house, the dragon mother has realized within herself the creation of what she is, how the feminine has turned into the masculine in different contexts. And shout out to the underground shit. So, because the because it's the micro to the macro, you know. The first house, Aries, it's like that's a micro to a different macro, right? And like, and within that, we are all that like first house in our own sense, and we're all that Aries constellation in that own unique sense, and we all have different relationships to the Aries constellation in the own sense. And the Aries constellation is some type of, you know, quote unquote subsidized I amness, end quote, respectively. So within that I amness, the sun is something of that I amness, and that I amness is relating to how I am my own micro, you know, individual effulgence of a sun. And that sun of that I am, I have risen in some type of like physical being somehow. If your sun is in the first house, then you're identifying like closely related to like being the sun itself, you know, being some type of like epicenter to like some type of creation. If you have sun in the first house, it would acclimate. So it would so acclimate, you know. And as it would so acclimate, it's like the sun is moving, the solar system sun, some type of as above sun, it's moving through the different spaces of the solar system, you know. And the solar system that being a being, and that being is having a sun move through it. And as the sun is moving through it, the sun could be pulling around its orbit, respectively, Saturn nearby, Earth and Moon nearby, just on a respective basic level. So within its orbit, they're pulling each other. They're within their own orbit. So as they're within their own orbit, because it's like going towards some type of inner surface level creation. The sun is going to some type of I amness. So some type of solar system sun is relating its I amness to like acclimate to the environment field, you know. So when the sun is in Libra and when the sun is in Virgo, we're acclimating and acting towards that energy of the solar system mother, the solar system dragon mother. The solar system dragon mother has been organized by different higher fathers, and the higher fathers within the dragon mother, they made the sun. So the sun was created from the dragon mother and the higher fathers. And I also did a different underground podcast how the sun was created, and that was a different underground, and it was just so kind of quote unquote like it was there, you know, it was just intuitively there, end quote. And but that like that was because I remember that shit, you know. And as that's happening, it's like the sun and the Earth and Saturn, they have their own unique triangulation opposition. And from that, the percolation of the sun from the Earth to the Saturn, that's what culminates and generates the moon energy in itself, respectively. And it gets deposited in the Saturn shit because that's just the mechanics of Saturn. And the Earth is kind of like, you know, the matrix illusion layer on top of Saturn. Earth is on top of Saturn in one sense because we're on the organic Earth plane, and Saturn is the matrix underneath the Earth. So the Earth is on top of Saturn, the moon is in and out of all of that shit and in between, and the sun is opposition to the Earth and Saturn in their own respects simultaneously. And as that's opposed, those different like teeter-totters of the sun opposing Earth and Saturn, that sun and that the sun is pretty much the creation. It's the androgen of the divine mother and divine father, right? That's what the sun is. It's the micro divine mother and father put together. The sun is an androgen. And as the androgynous sun is going through the different, you know, one context of the feminine admin cadmin body, the micro divine mother father sun, we're acting towards that newly within the feminine dragon mother body that has been programmed coded within the constellations of her. And now we're kind of acting suit. When the sun is in Virgo, we're acting towards Virgo shit. When the sun is in Libra, we're acting towards Libra shit. But what's like the mystery of Virgo and Libra? It's the ending and the start of moon cycles, and it's the sun having a whole different shift phase as well, respectively. Because so within like in between Virgo and Libra, the moon cycles are resetting in one sense, and the sun cycles are resetting in a different sense. And so if the moon and the sun are resetting, and the sun is something, it's the divine androgynon that we act towards for like spiritual guidance, or just like, you know, casual like life guidance, the sun, it's having a reset between the 6th and the 7th house, you know. The 6th and the 7th house, that being the feminine solar system, and then the Virgo constellation and the Libra constellation, that being the masculine solar system. So from the feminine solar system, the masculine solar system, they're like intertwined pretty much. And as that's intertwined, it's like the Earth is also in the opposing constellation of the sun. So if the Earth is in the opposing constellation of the sun, we on the Earth are riding through that space within the mother, right? So the Earth is in Scorpio right now, right? So if the Earth is in a Scorpio field, it's in the 8th house within the. So the Earth is in the 8th house right now. In a like in the solar in like the solar system template, right? Because the solar system template is Scorpio is coming out of some type of 8th house, right? So within the 8th house, the Earth is right, like the Earth itself, the Earth without the sun, just the Earth on top of the matrix, just our raw nature life, the life of nature, and how Scorpio is like, and how the Earth is going towards the sun, kind of. Scorpio is kind of going towards Taurus. Earth in Scorpio, Taurus in the sun. So the Earth is going towards the sun because the nature is kind of like, it's kind of responding to the energy life guidance of the sun, right? The divine androgen of the sun, right? Some divine like androgen of the sun being a divine, like some type of finished energy of like an androgen energy of like God and the mother just being, and the new being. And you could even say the sun is like some type of like relationship with kind of, you could even say that the sun is like, you could even say the sun is like the Surya, kind of like being like in such a unique way, like the magic of character or something like that, because like Surya is like, he is like the being who's empowering our own kind of ego, our own character, and not good or bad ego, but just like our persona, Surya is empowering our persona. So we all are Surya, we're all like in an energy way. We all are our Surya. So even like Chaitanya, Mahaprabhu Chaitanya was Surya because he was using Surya as just the sun, it doing its thing. So Chaitanya and Surya, and everybody, we are all like a certain production of our own sun. And I did a different underground video, what what the sun really is, on a whole different other tip. And it's like, it's like, the people like, it's either like you really gonna be about this all in shit and you're not gonna use it for hype, or you're just gonna like somehow just be weirdly hypey and not understand the bigger picture. Those are like that's like literally like low key on a mature energetic metaphysical level. That those are really the only like two options, because it's either like the whole fucking spiritual message for the last 30 or 40 years. Trust God, let go, don't worry, like, all this shit. Like, and that's kind of been pointing and leaning towards and kind of refining itself to like be a message of execution of something, to say the output production of that conclusion is like, the message is like something to go all in for, and if you're just saying you're going all in for something but you're not actually doing that, that's some type of like energetic hypocrisy. And that just it's just and on a mundane level, it's just a lie. So what good is a lie at the end of the day? What good and that's funny because you could answer that in so many different ways, right? Like, what good is a lie? Like, what good is it? But we are in this like 8th house dynamic right now, our nature. So everybody could just be like feeling like there could be like we really don't know what people are going through. It's the whole like all of it's being amplified low key, but like also simultaneously there is grace within the transformation of to go towards solutions. But are we really for that though? Like, shout out to the motherfucking predecessors. Like, are we really fucking for that? Excuse my French. Because it's just like, if you can't differentiate what hype and lies are, then you're not necessarily going to move forward how you would really, really, really like to on some mature esoteric shit beyond all this like promotion shit, respectively. And all this fucking innovation hype shit, respectively. Because these are like, this is real, like, it's like a different type of wholeness, pretty much. and you could cap it, project it, make fun of it, however the fuck you want behind the scenes, you know. But the more like strange thing is that's your legacy, that's your intelligence, that's your obsession, that's your insecurity, that's your lack of healing. That's me already fucking. This is pre-written, dude. And what was pre-written was just like people didn't recognize their own patterns, their own like their own ignorance, pretty, just to put it direct, you know. So the whole 9 could be happening right now. Earth and Scorpio. You know, Scorpio being, you know, masculinizing the 8th house, right? The 8th house is being on the Earth, and the Earth is like kind of like on some Saturn shit. So it's like Scorpio and Pisces. This is like trining. We have the gift to like see the fucking, to overcome heavy emotions, perhaps, right? Or we could just get fucking hope, or like life might have just got the best of you. Some people could be like, quote unquote, you know, I think they need a raft in the ocean, right? Or something like that, you know? Or like, and I, you know, I it's like, this shit is like, fuck, man. The ocean, that's like, you know, if you're not secure in the ocean, what happens if you're not secure in the ocean, right? So within the esoteric waters of like, you know, Earth and Scorpio and Saturn and Pisces, and they have their own different kind of casual relationship, irregardless of the constellations. They're just closely connected in their own range. However, they like spread apart or are closely related. That's a different variable. Spreading apart and closely related, and different from how they're traveling and how they're just generally connected, you know, and how they have their own unique relationship, right? Because they all have unique relationships from one another, right? So it's just different variables, right? And there's a different point I could have finished within like a couple sentences ago, and there's just different variables to like HD, right? It's like I think I already mentioned it, you know, because I want to keep flowing with this, but like the different variables within HD, it's like, it's not just like the keynotes. The keynotes and the mutation, they're different, obviously, respectively. And the keynotes and the mutation is obviously different from like, you know, the shadow work, right? But they all could help each other, but they're not all necessarily helping each other. And I've already said that type of shit. I'm not trying to compare myself with any of the experts. This is my own like expression and my own like alignment and mature congruency with actually aligning with the keynotes, just it being its own fucking thing, with regardless of the level of conditioning, deconditioning experiences and shit. Because that's all that really, like, that's a part of it, right? That's helping the deconditioning process, you know, is the keynotes, respectively. Duh. And within the different type of keynotes, the keynotes are pointing to all types of different shit. Duh. And as it's pointing to all types of different shit, it's trying to tell us the mutation shift within just a bigger universal clock. Duh. So within all of that shit, it's like, it's either like you're a mature HD teacher these days, or you're not. And if you're not, then you're in your own unique fucking deconditioning process, and that's just what the motherfuck it is. So within that, the Earth is like, you could call the Earth like the nature realm, right? The nature realm, and then like is like the some divine sentient feminine being. And then the sun is some type of different mechanism. The sun and the earth they're kind of like their own yin and yang, and the sun and the earth, they're kind of like, somehow Saturn is like in between, and like in a different realm. It's like, it's just like a whole different world, right? If you with respects to the dreams, right? And like balancing the dreams, and then seeing the imbalance of the dreams, right? And then Libra, third decan Libra, being kind of like, balance realized, right? First and second, they're kind of having like they're receiving the impact, right? And then from Libra to Scorpio, that first like that first like um new emission and effulgence of the energies of the sun going into Libra, the micro subsidized divine mother and father, this androgen sun, going into the divine mother's 7th house and 8th house and 9th house. That 7th, 8th, and 9th house is pretty much like that's like Venus, and then 8th house being like, some type of Hades, the underground of the gods. Pluto's hosting like everybody, low key, low key, low key. So it's like Venus, Pluto shit, and then going back to like, a certain realm of Jupiter shit, because Jupiter's like, he's at a different they're all at their own epicenters respectively, right? So as they're all in their own epicenters, it's like in the human design perspective, they say like the fall is attributed to Jupiter. So it's like, so within like, so like, so even Libra is like Jupiterian, and Scorpio is Jupiterian, because like for some reason the human design like framework, it says that like Jupiter is like overseeing Libra, Scorpio, and Sag, and then it would be more like highlighted and more supercharged from it would be more supercharged in Sag season, because it's like Jupiter descending, right? Jupiter's descending in Sag, right? Because if Jupiter is low-key starting in a different field in Libra, all of them are starting uniquely. That's the thing. They all have their own unique exaltations and debilitations within all of the seasons, that we don't even necessarily know. And so the divine androgen sun is going from like Venus to Pluto to Jupiter type of shit. So that's the transformation of the fall, it's like Venus, Pluto and the gods, and then like more Jupiter, and Libra is like Venus and Saturn. So the sun is like kind of acclimating to Libra. So the sun is acclimating to Venus and Saturn shit, Libra. The sun is acclimating to Pluto, Uranus, and Mars shit, Scorpio. And the sun is acclimating to like Jupiter and Loki, like, within like respects to the oppositions, more or less catching game eventually within each other. There's Mercury energy within like the Sag constellation too, because he's kind of programming it like Mercury. They say Mercury like kind of finished astrology, right? Finished the codings of astrology. So the sun is kind of like the combination of the gods, right? Energetically speaking. And within the combination of the gods, we're seeing like the sun being in Libra, we're seeing Jupiter, Venus, and Saturn shit. We're starting a new phase. Like Libra starts the new phase of Jupiter, Venus, and Saturn shit, low key. So as the sun is as I don't know why I'm talking about Libra shit, but I'm like a third decan Libra, so that's why I'm talking about Libra shit. And this is like Libra Lord astrology shit, so I guess it is fitting. And like obviously people might have their north nodes in Libra, they might have some aspect in Libra, so this is like, this is the mature Libra tribe, the most mature Libra tribe, the most informative, fair, the most real Libra tribe, mind you. The most healthy, higher octave Libra tribe, mind you. The most original Libra tribe, mind you. Ooh, that one was sinister. Anyways. the most real, you know? That's what it really be. And and as the sun is acclimating to like Jupiter, Venus, and Saturn shit, that's giving us a kick. Like Libra is giving us the kickstart to like reassess our Saturn shit, our Venus shit, and our Jupiter shit. Because the Saturn and Venus shit, that's giving us rise to the whole new, like some starting of a experience, right? Because human design is pointing to like, it's pointing to like Jupiter has like significant like, there's just like a significant like, there's just significant shit, you know? Like human design is saying like Jupiter and Neptune, they're just really significant, right? They're in their own fucking leagues already, and we're just human beings partaking in the shit that they fucking made, right? So if the Earth is in Scorpio right now, the nature realm of the human beings, they're responding to Mars, Uranus, and Pluto type of shit, and that's a gnarly like Scorpio's low key like it could be like that's like gnarly ass gang shit, you know. But with Uranus there, it's like it could be smooth though, you know. It could be somehow smooth, you know, gnarly to smooth, you know. Because Ernest, he's on his own fucking wavelength. We don't know where he's coming from, what he's pulling from, for him to fucking shock all of the gods. Like Ernest is the shocker to the gods. So not just like, and then the fucking masses experience it. You know, he's the shocker to the gods themselves somehow. So the shocker in the gods, our nature's feeling the shock. Our nature, our spider, like Earth, our spider sense, like the Taurus suns, their spider senses, they like the Taurus people, they know like who's bullshitting. Somehow Taurus people know who's bullshitting. Why do they know it? Because their Earth is in Scorpio. That like the spidey senses are tingling. Taurus suns, they know who's bullshitting. And there was a different title I wanted to call this video. And I'm just kind of trying to reflect on that. Like, what would the title be of this video? Let me check the battery. Ooh, 8%. Bam. No choice. No choice. No choice. No choice. 52-52 when I said that. Ooh. 7-7. So this is like 7. So this is like the higher selves are here. 52-52. The higher selves are here. But we don't know that. We don't know that for some reason. So Earth in Scorpio, that's like the Scorpio that they some Scorpions that they could be ready for the shock, you know. If they get shocked, they could kind of like be like they could have a unique resilience, right? Because Uranus is exalted in Scorpio, so it's like the Scorpio beings within the Divine Mother, she welcomes the shock of a higher Divine Father for the Divine Father to impregnate the solar system, because the solar system's 8th house, that's her reception canal, right? And somehow Uranus, Mars, and Pluto are there, so it's like this whole life and death, you know, quote unquote gizmo, end quote, is like exalted and co-ruled within the 8th house solar system. So the Earth is like, so our nature self, the Earth being in Scorpio, we're sensing on an unconscious level big transformation from Pluto, big spiritual like innovation from Uranus, and you know, inner kind of like inner warfare, you know, inner like kind of like what about me type, like Scorpio could be like what about me type of shit, right? Internal Mars. Wouldn't internal Mars be like what about me type of shit, you know? So the earth is in that shit, and the unconscious like mother feminine earth body of ourselves, the earth, it's going towards some type of like higher self, some type of the sun in one context being the higher self to the earth respectively, but and that's just one context of different contexts for the higher selves. And within that, like the earth in Scorpio right now, it could be like it could just gracefully accept this shit, you know? And the better, if you accept, then you could reduce bitterness, right? You could reduce bitterness, because it's like it's no one's fault really, you know. These are like, we can't control the weather, you know, but we can know about the weather to fucking adjust ourselves and maybe like work to buy the gear so we can weather the storm, right? Esoterically speaking, right? And I might have to listen to this one over to like properly title it, you know, because sometimes like, you know, most of the times I catch the title. So so first decan Libras, they're getting the first fucking whiff of like Jupiter, Venus, and Saturn shits. Second decan Libra, let's accept the fucking ride. Third decan Libra, let's see like what this really is, like what it really like is, without us hearing hearsay shit, you know, without us even hearing testimonies. Let me experience this shit for myself. Third decan Libra. And as the third decan Libra goes into the first decan Scorpio, that's getting ready for like a whole new ride, right? A whole new ride within first decan Scorpio, getting ready for like starting, you know, 2 of 6 in the second moon phase, because Libra is 1 of 6 in the second moon phase. So 2 of 6, a second start within a second start, 2 of 6. And then 1 of 3, you know. Libra being the second, the 2 of 2 of moon cycles. And then Scorpio being the 2 of 6 of the 2 of 2, because Libra's starting the second 6-month moon phase cycle, right? So Scorpio's 2 of 6 is on the Libra 2 of 2, right? So that's a second start of a second start. So within that second start of the second start, there's an esoteric feminine quality there. And that esoteric feminine quality is first decan Scorpio. We're getting the esoteric dark feminine energy to have a micro initiation, receiving it though, of Pluto, Uranus, and Mars shit. First decan Scorpio. And third decan Libra, concluding ourselves to enter in and to slide in to fucking Pluto, Uranus, and Mars shit. So that's like, so third decan Libra and first decan Libra, they're so similar and so different, because we're all like kind of like being impacted from the hit of starting Jupiter, Venus, and Saturn shit, Libra constellation shit. I gotta charge my battery. I might just title this Libra constellation shit. I'm at 5%. And I didn't, maybe I'll just charge the phone. Fuck. And this memory's been actually, Oh, lost the fucking thing. No, I didn't lose it. There's a certain hub so I could fucking charge the phone. Lost. I misplaced it. Darn. It's like, shit could be so fucking. Oh, here, found it. Charging the phone, excuse me, guys. So I'm just saying this so I could know how the quote unquote, you know, the beings that are supposedly closer to, you know, whatever. I'm just saying this to see how, like, just to see how shit is moving, you know? Because if we don't know how shit is moving, then we're just going to be like a fucking piece of sock in some type of, like, you know, divine unconscious washer machine. We don't want to be just a sock in some divine washer machine. I don't want to be like just a sock in a divine water machine. I want to, like, be outside of the water machine and see the fucking aquarium, right? Or I don't want to be just like a, you know, you can't, like, you like, oh, like, you ain't gonna lie to the universe. Are you really playing small? Or are you really playing big? Like, you ain't gonna lie to the universe. Like, you ain't gonna lie to that shit. You ain't gonna lie. You ain't gonna lie about that shit. I'm gonna keep it 100. I'm gonna keep it 100. So that was just like, for me to put a conclusive note on, like, Earth in Scorpio. That was just kind of like a nimble kind of explanation, you know, of just like the nimble explanation being like, this is what we could be feeling, you know. This is what, like, you know, just like, this is what nature could have for us, you know. And then as we're with nature, we could be going towards some type of sun shit, you know. And then the sun is kind of aligned somehow in the solar system of the Taurus constellation to other significant objects. Uranus, Jupiter, and Venus are in that Taurus constellation in the solar system, and they're creating something that is uniquely opposing the Earth, right? Because the sun and the Earth, they have their own unique oppositions, right? So as the sun and the Earth are opposing, the nature is being received. The sun always, nature is always like, the feminine nature is always opposed. The divine androgynous sun, they're always opposed, because that's just how it was put together. The sun and the earth are opposed. A divine feminine is opposed to a unique divine masculine feminine. And within that, that's kind of creating like, it's just kind of creating like a unique divine, the divine solar system to be what it is, you know. And as that's happening in a certain feminine Adam and Cadman body of the solar system, these planets are in the Taurus constellation, the masculine second house, right? It's in the masculine second house. So within the masculine second house, a spiritual foundation can be introduced uniquely into beyond all the tech shit, respectively. Uranus and Taurus, Jupiter and Taurus. Oh shit, like like some type of, like, you know, king of gods, his celestial object, he's aligned with the sun and Venus. That's pointing towards the earth, right? Because the sun is pointing towards the earth as well, you know, in its own yin and yang aspect. So so the sun is aligned with Uranus and Jupiter in some type of masculine second house. And that masculine second house, that energy area, it has a unique rule, a place ruler, and that place ruler is there. You know, the place ruler is there of like, like Venus is at her night. She's at her like night castle, right? So she like within like, because like the Taurus constellation, who knows how like how deep it could, like who knows how like who knows the spectrum of the constellations pretty much. Because if certain planets are near the Earth and certain planets are more farther away from the Earth, then the constellation itself expresses itself differently if it's closer to the Earth or more farther away from the Earth. So it's a solar system type of closeness and further awayness. So within that, the Taurus constellation is kind of like being threaded from like Uranus and Jupiter, somehow Uranus and Jupiter being in this Taurus constellation together. And they're going to the house owner, you know, they're going to like Anana's house, right? And as they're going to Anana's house, the divine androgen of the sun, the energy of like, you know, kind of like all the gods' creation together, the sun, it's also in Anana's house. So Anana's house is having like the divine king is there, you know, the spirit, like the sun is like some type of like, you know, the sun is some type of like, you know, metaphysical king, right? You know, energetically speaking. So like this energy king is there, the sun, Anana's there, Uranus is there, Jupiter is there, and the Taurus constellation is threaded differently from the Earth all the way to like whatever like the top of the solar system is, right? So within that, there's an alignment that's being threaded throughout the spectrum of the Taurus constellation, and within the energy that's being threaded throughout the constellation of the Taurus, somehow the celestial objects of the king gods there, and the metaphysical king is there, the divine early empress is there, and you know some type of like, you know, higher spiritual self is there, because we're misunderstanding what Uranus is. That's all beaming through the Taurus constellation that is ultimately influencing a certain unique energy on the Earth that we're on, because the sun and the Earth, it's like they're reflecting the opposition constellations are reflecting each other. Like Scorpio and Taurus, they're reflecting each other, and as they're reflecting each other, they have their own yin and yang to that. So as we are on Earth, we're receiving the yin and yang of the sun energy of Taurus, and we're receiving the yin and yang energy of Uranus, Jupiter, Sun, and Anana on the Earth. And we're filtering that through like, you know, Scorpio like ways, you know, Scorpio and Earth. And we could be like, you know, sleek about it, right? Taurus, we could be sleek about it. We could be like crafty about it. We could just play the game, right? That's what Taurus season is, just play the game. You know, be grateful that we could understand the game, you know? You know, Jupiter, what, and like you could ask, like, what does Jupiter and Taurus mean? Well, Jupiter's bringing to the table, like I fucking, like, I rule this shit, motherfucker. Like, on a low key level that you can't even fathom, that you can't even understand. You can't even understand if clarity graces you. Like, Jupiter what Jupiter is saying is, like, I rule this shit. And his rulership, he's influencing what will go for Taurus. Like, we're gonna, like, if we did the homework, it will be evident. We're gonna experience, you know, uniquely how Taurus falls in a house, you know, like what area of life will be impacted pretty much, and what area of life will be impacted. Somehow we could be like focusing on that unconsciously to consciously, Taurus through the houses. But like within Taurus through the houses, it's like, you know, like this is no choice, dude. These fuckers rule this shit, dude. This is no choice. You have an awesome day.